Yesterday, we talked about the Carolina Panthers, and if you weren't listening, I'll give you a quick version. They have 4 games left. They control their own destiny, right? If they win the 2 against the Bucs and against the Saints, it really doesn't matter what anybody else does in the league. They get to go to the playoffs. So what we did was, I actually said it on air. There's 2 ways to look at it, right? You can either look at the good, you can be glass half full, or you can anticipate the snags, anticipate what might hold you back, and try to get ahead of that in how you might overcome it. So we looked at it from that angle yesterday. Today, it's the opposite, right? Because there's a saying, strengthen your strengths, and that's a different way that certain coaches or general managers look at it. If you are going into an offseason and you were the best rushing offense in the NFL last year, you might think, all right, we got to get our passing offense up to its speed. Or you can say, you know what, let's go get the number 1 offensive lineman in free agency and just turn our our rushing offense into an absolute juggernaut, and then who cares what else we have on our offense? So if you're not looking at the flaws, if instead you're looking at the good and just trying to, with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, overcome your flaws with just your boosts, your rocket boosters, what are the things that the Carolina Panthers will lean on, that they can trust, that they can say, we do this well? My favorite analogy for this would be, tin cup 7-iron. Right, if your whole bag is going to heck in a handbasket, everything's slicing, you're going in the water, you're not striking it well. Tin cup, right? Roy McAvoy from the movie Tin Cup, he could always grab his 7-iron, and he knew he was going to hit that one well. What is the Panthers' 7-iron? Now I took, and I'll put it on Front Street. Took a more abstract answer to this. This year for the Panthers, more so than in years past, really maybe more so since the Cam Newton era, I think you can lean on your stars. Your stars have played like stars, right? And all the cliches are there for a reason. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. You got a bunch of big-time games coming up, and for the first time in a long time, I'm very confident that the Panthers' best players are ready to make those game-changing plays. Derrick Brown. Right? Derrick Brown, 2 gigantic plays in that win over the Rams. Right? Getting his hands up, then deflecting passes and getting home and getting sacks and stopping the run. J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn, at the beginning of the year, I challenged him to get his hands on the ball more, right? I said he does pretty much everything well, except he's not getting interceptions. What I should have said was hand on the ball more, because he only needs one hand to get some interceptions this year. The guy's making absolutely incredible plays. You may not think of this position as stars. Damian Lewis has been really good, which was kind of like a, Robert Hunt gets hurt, and Damian Lewis gets to stand up and go, I'm ready for the spotlight. And lead an offensive line as the veteran. Everybody basically says Damian Lewis just plays with violence. He gets to go be the tone setter for an offensive line that was missing their kind of leader in Robert Hunt. And Damian Lewis has been really gosh darn good. And then, just to kind of do 2 offense, 2 defense, you drafted Tepper McMillan to be a star. He's been that.
Yeah, 8th overall pick wide receiver. Yeah,
he's been
absolutely.
That. He's leading all rookies in receiving yards. Again, against the Rams, like, you may not think one catch could be a star performance. It absolutely was. One catch made the absolute most out of it. 40-something yards and a touchdown when you absolutely needed it.
May not have been a star game, but it was a star play.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was, what every star says, right? Don't let me get open. Don't let me do it once. That's all I need.
I'm 7-11, baby.
There
Always
you go.
Open.
In years past, whether it's injuries for something like Derrick Brown, maybe attitude for somebody who was supposed to be a star like Deontay Johnson, injuries for somebody like J.C. Horn, age for somebody like Adam Thielen, like whatever the reason is, the stars haven't always been ready for the big games. And sometimes the big games haven't even gotten there yet. You know what I mean? They never reached the big games. But for this year's Panthers team, you're going to be going up against the Bucs in a crucial moment with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. You're going to be going up against the Seahawks with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is, his star is burning as bright as anybody's in the NFL this year, I think you're going to be able to match wattage with them, which is not exactly the way the Panthers have been in the past. Now, obviously, I can hear some of you saying, why haven't you mentioned Bryce Young yet? I don't know if he's a star yet. You know what I mean? I think he's had moments where he's burned pretty bright, but I don't want to put that on him, right? I don't want to put you need to have your best games in the big games. I feel much, much more comfortable putting that on the players that I mentioned than I do on Bryce. And by the way, I think that's good for Bryce. If you tell me he has to have a star-making performance to win a game, I think that's not a great recipe for getting the most out of the player. I think right now you can depend on him to have a star drive at the end of a close game. That's about as much of a depending on a star as you can put on Bryce Young. But before that, lean on your studs. Lean on your studs. Dennis, what would you say the Panthers can trust? Or what do they major in? What would they build their playoff run on?
I say the strength of their offense, when they stick to it, is their running game. Which, when you think about it, I know, granted, they're going to be playing in a dome stadium this coming Sunday, but generally in this time of year, whether the weather gets crappy, you're not able to grip the ball, it's tight, whatever it might be, you have to lean on your run game at this time of year. And I think the way that the Panthers had the game plan, the offensive game plan against the LA Rams, where it was ball control offense. They had the ball for over 35 minutes of that game. And you had, I think it was combined 35 carries between Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. Like, Chuba had 17, Rico had 18. You had over 130 yards between the two of them just on the ground. That's the blueprint of how they're successful. That's exactly the same blueprint that they had. Granted, you used Rico Dowdle more against Green Bay, but that's the exact same model that you had against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers only had 7 offensive possessions the entire game. That's exactly what you need to do against some of these other quote-unquote high-powered teams. That, to me, is where they have to lean in on their most effective core of their offense. It is their run game. That's the only thing that you could say has been close to consistent week in and week out for Carolina. Again, when Dave Canales sticks to it. That's the big thing. To me, that's what you have to lean on at this time of year. That is their blueprint. You shorten the game, you keep the other offense off the field, and their defense has also been really good in the red zone. They can't sack a quarterback to save their lives, but they can force field goals in the red zone for the most part. They're actually one of the better teams in the NFL in red zone touchdown percentage. That's their blueprint.
Just to kind of pair those two, I struggled, and probably more so, it's embarrassing how much I overthink these things, on including Rico Dowdle or not including him in my stars conversation.
I think you should.
It hasn't been every game. When he's popped, it's been as star-making as star-making can be. But he's also had games where it's more about we just have to give it to the run game because it's who we are than it was we're giving it to the run game because it's absurdly effective, right? There were games where he got to 25 carries because he was picking up 8 yards a carry, and you'd be stupid not to give it to him. But then there were games where he got 17, 18, 20 carries, and it wasn't the most efficient, successful decision to make, but it was, no, the way we're built, we have to give it to the run game enough to play off of that in the way, we have to make the defense respect our run game, and the only way to do that is to continue doing it. So I don't know. So you're like 100% in Rico as a star?
I mean, yeah, I'll go with it. Why not?
Just because I'm not sure he is.
Okay, that's fine.
It's there were, again, I was sitting there for 20 minutes going back and forth, and I would talk myself into absolutely he's a star. He has multiple 200-yard games this year. How, like, that you can't fake that. But then it was also like, yeah, but also, Chuba looked like the better back this past game.
He did.
I don't know. He's a tough one for me. So I pivoted and went to Damian Lewis because I think he's been more consistently really good.
Lewis is a tough dude.
I mean, seems like a guy that flips the switch to being like, the best kind of psycho on game day, which I say the best kind. It's positive. It's compliment. But I didn't know if I didn't know whether it's like you can depend on your stars, Rico Dowdle. I struggled with it, so I didn't do it. But maybe I should have. Who knows? Now I'm second guessing myself.